Picture this: St. Petersburg at night. The cobblestones gleam with a sinister wetness, each alleyway hinting at secrets the darkness swallows whole. You're not just watching, you're in it. You're part of the most daring psychological exploration ever attempted, the human soul stripped bare, its darkest corners illuminated by a single, fearless gaze. That gaze belongs to Fyodor Dostoyevsky. Forget the image of a mere writer, see him as a surgeon of the mind, wielding his pen like a scalpel, slicing through the comforting lies we tell ourselves. But what if everything you think you know is a lie? What if goodness, morality, and rational behavior are just fragile masks hiding a terrifying abyss of contradictions within us? Suddenly, a chilling truth hits you: the most monstrous acts aren't the work of monsters, but of ordinary people, capable of unimaginable darkness. The line between saint and sinner? It's not a line at all, but a dizzying tightrope we all walk, blind to our own potential for both incredible redemption and utter destruction. So, who are you when society's rules vanish? When the civilized mask slips, and fear and desire collide? When the most primal urges erupt from beneath your carefully constructed identity? Dostoyevsky grasped a revolutionary idea. Within each of us rages a universe of opposing forces: reason versus madness, love versus hate, creation versus destruction, locked in eternal combat. The biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we're consistent, predictable. But deep down, you know the truth: you're a chaotic symphony, capable of breathtaking compassion and unspeakable cruelty in the same heartbeat. This is what Dostoyevsky saw. He didn't just observe human nature, he fearlessly dissected its most terrifying truths. Prepare for a shattering revelation, a breakthrough that will dismantle everything you thought you understood about yourself, about humanity, about the razor's edge between sanity and madness. To understand Dostoyevsky's genius is to confront a fundamental truth that most philosophers and psychologists dare not approach: the human being is not a rational creature, but a seething mass of contradictions, impulses, and unresolved tensions. Where Carl Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, Dostoyevsky had already mapped its treacherous terrain decades earlier, revealing the dark undercurrents that flow beneath the surface of human consciousness. Consider the profound insight of Notes from Underground, a text that predates Freud's exploration of the unconscious by decades. Here, Dostoyevsky unveils the most terrifying aspect of human nature: our perverse capacity to act against our own self-interest, to choose suffering over comfort, irrationality over reason. This is not madness, but a deeper form of freedom, the freedom to reject the very logic that supposedly defines us. Friedrich Nietzsche would later echo this sentiment, but Dostoyevsky had already understood that human motivation is not a linear path of rational choice, but a complex labyrinth of desires, fears, and contradictory impulses. The underground man is not an aberration, but a mirror, reflecting the hidden parts of ourselves we desperately try to suppress. Every justification, every moral stance, every carefully constructed narrative of self is nothing more than a thin veneer covering an abyss of potential actions. Jean-Paul Sartre would eventually describe the anguish of absolute freedom, but Dostoyevsky had already shown how this freedom manifests in the most intimate moments of human experience. In Crime and Punishment, Raskolnikov is not just a murderer, but a philosophical experiment, an exploration of how ideology can twist human morality, how rational arguments can justify the most heinous acts. The true horror and beauty of human nature lies not in our actions, but in our capacity for self-reflection, for transformation. Dostoyevsky understood that we are never fixed, never fully known, even to ourselves. Each moment contains the potential for radical change, for redemption, for total destruction. We are not who we think we are who we might become in our most unguarded, most desperate moments. Something fundamental is brewing, a recognition that will force you to look deeper into the unexplored territories of your own consciousness, where the most profound truths about humanity await. Dostoyevsky's vision doesn't just offer literary insights, it unleashes a seismic shockwave that shatters your core beliefs about human potential and moral certainty. It's not merely a shift in perspective, it's a fundamental earthquake beneath your feet, cracking the foundations of what you've always assumed to be true. What if the very foundations you trust, your institutions, moral codes, carefully crafted beliefs, are simply elaborate illusions, veiling the fundamental chaos of human existence? What if the order we perceive is just a fragile construct, a desperate attempt to contain the untamable forces within us? Modern cognitive psychology now confirms what Dostoyevsky instinctively knew. often centuries ahead of scientific validation. We aren't rational machines, but intricate beings driven by unconscious drives, cognitive biases, and deeply rooted psychological needs. We are far more complex and less predictable than we'd like to believe. Think about it. The confirmation bias that makes you cling to your convictions, even in the face of contradictory evidence. The fundamental attribution error that lets you judge others harshly while excusing yourself with a gentle pat on the back. These aren't just minor flaws in our mental programming, but profound revelations about the labyrinthine complexity of human nature. They expose the inherent contradictions in how we process information and interact with the world. We build our realities on shaky ground. In the Brothers Karamazov, Dostoyevsky exposes a deeply unsettling truth, one that continues to challenge our notions of right and wrong. Moral choice isn't a simple, good versus evil equation, a neat binary, but a relentless internal struggle within the human soul. It's a battlefield where opposing forces clash, where motivations are murky, and where outcomes are rarely clear-cut. Each character becomes a psychological world, a microcosm of this internal conflict, illustrating how love can intertwine with hatred in the most intimate relationships, how compassion can breed destruction when twisted by ideology, and how the noblest intentions, when coupled with unchecked power or flawed understanding, can pave the way for devastating outcomes. Consider Ivan Karamazov's intellectual rebellion, which indirectly contributes to his father's murder. The true prison isn't external control, the visible chains, but the illusion of control. We are the most effective wardens of our confinement. You believe you're making logical choices, that your actions stem from careful thought and conscious will. You construct elaborate narratives to support this belief. But Dostoyevsky confronts you with a stark reality. Your decisions are a tangled web of repressed desires, those long-buried yearnings that whisper from the shadows, inherited wounds passed down through generations, societal programming that shapes your perceptions from birth, and unconscious urges that bubble beneath the surface of awareness. The rational mind, that thing we so dearly prize, is revealed to be just a fragile layer, a thin veneer attempting to maintain order over a volcanic terrain of unresolved conflicts, a landscape constantly threatening to erupt. Ponder this disturbing idea, this unsettling mirror Dostoyevsky holds up to us. Your sense of moral superiority, that comfortable belief in your own righteousness, might be a grand self-deception. The individual capable of immense love, of selfless sacrifice and profound empathy, is equally capable of unimaginable cruelty, of inflicting pain and destruction. This isn't a comfortable thought, but it's a necessary one. The line separating saint and monster isn't a solid wall, but a permeable membrane, a fluctuating boundary, a truth that both terrifies and liberates. It terrifies because it shatters our illusions of safety and moral certainty. It liberates because it opens the door to genuine self-understanding and the potential for change. Neuroscience now validates Dostoyevsky's intuition, providing empirical evidence for his profound insights. The human brain isn't a logic processor, a cold, calculating machine, but a storytelling engine, a narrative-generating device constantly fabricating narratives to make sense of its own chaotic existence. We are meaning-making machines, driven to create order, even where it doesn't exist. Your identity isn't a fixed entity, a static label, but an ongoing negotiation, a dynamic process, a river perpetually changing its course, never identical from one second to the next. You are a collection of experiences, impulses, and choices, constantly in flux. Prepare for a breakthrough. A profound awakening that will challenge everything you assume about yourself, about human nature, about the very essence of consciousness. This isn't just about understanding Dostoyevsky, it's about understanding yourself in a radically new way. The rebellion ignites with a chilling flash of self-recognition. The person you believe yourself to be is a carefully assembled fiction. Everything you've meticulously constructed, your identity, those comforting moral certainties, that carefully curated self-image you present to the world, is a fragile story, a narrative waiting for the inevitable earthquake that will shatter it into pieces. Dostoyevsky proposes a radical path to true liberation. Instead of fleeing from the inherent complexity of your nature, embrace it fully. This isn't a descent into nihilism, a rejection of all values, but an ascent to a profound level of self-awareness that transcends the simplistic confines of traditional moral frameworks. The ultimate revolutionary act is to gaze unflinchingly into the abyss of your own potential, to acknowledge and accept the coexistence of the saint and the monster within you. Breaking free from self-deception demands rejecting the comforting, black and white narratives of good and evil. You are not a static character trapped in a predetermined plot, but a dynamic, ever-evolving force, brimming with untapped potential. The individuals who have truly reshaped the course of history were not those who blindly adhered to rules, but those who possessed a deep understanding of the intricate currents of human motivation, those who dared to see beyond the superficial facade of human behavior and plumb the depths of what makes us truly tick. Consider embarking on the most potent form of rebellion, radical self-honesty. This isn't the shallow introspection that merely inflates your ego, but a ruthless and unflinching examination of your deepest drives and motivations. Interrogate yourself. Why do you really do what you do? What elaborate stories are you weaving to yourself to avoid confronting the multifaceted, often contradictory nature of your being? The path to genuine freedom isn't paved with suppression and denial, but with courageous integration. Every impulse you've desperately tried to deny, every shadow you've fearfully attempted to conceal, these aren't your enemies, but unexplored territories brimming with untapped potential, waiting to be integrated into the totality of who you are. Dostoyevsky reveals that true freedom blossoms from embracing the full spectrum of your humanity, not from attempting to confine it within the narrow, suffocating confines of a socially acceptable narrative. This isn't a quest to become a better person in the conventional, moralistic sense. It's about striving to become more authentically, unapologetically human, embracing the inherent paradox that you possess the capacity for both profound, selfless love and devastating, destructive acts. The instant you cease striving for mere goodness and begin striving for genuine realness, you unlock a power that transcends the limitations of moral judgment. Your rebellion isn't a battle against external systems of control, but a war against the internal lies you've been perpetuating. Each fleeting moment presents a fresh opportunity to rewrite your personal narrative, to step into a version of yourself that is more authentic, more daring, perhaps even a little terrifying, and undeniably, vibrantly alive. Prepare for a fundamental transformation, a seismic shift that will redefine everything you thought you knew about yourself, about the vast reserves of human potential, and about the very essence of consciousness itself. Ultimately, Dostoyevsky's most profound revelation strikes us with both terror and awe. Human nature isn't a puzzle to be solved, a code to be cracked, but a magnificent and terrifying mystery to be lived. You weren't designed to be neatly understood, categorized, or controlled. You were born to be experienced in the full spectrum of your magnificent, terrible complexity. The ultimate truth transcends the limitations of moral judgment, venturing far beyond the simplistic, childish dichotomies of good and evil. Within you resides a universe, vast and unexplored, infinite in your potential, gloriously unpredictable in your very essence. Each fleeting moment holds the seed of radical transformation. Every single breath offers a chance to rewrite the unfolding narrative of your existence. Dostoyevsky grasped a fundamental truth that has eluded generations of philosophers and psychologists. Human beings aren't defined or confined by their past actions, but liberated and empowered by their boundless capacity for radical change. You are not a static entity, a fixed point in time, but a dynamic, ever-evolving process. The self isn't a noun, a label, but a verb, a continuous, active state of becoming. Revisit Raskolnikov's tumultuous journey in crime and punishment, not merely as a tale of retribution, but as a profound meditation on the boundless power of redemption. The most potent force within us isn't the ability to commit acts whether noble or heinous, but the extraordinary ability to transform, to ascend from the deepest abyss of our own darkness into something utterly unexpected and new. Each and every moment holds the potential for complete reinvention, for a phoenix-like rebirth from the ashes of your former self. The world, in its fear, actively suppresses this truth. Institutions, social structures, rigid moral systems, they all conspire to create the comforting illusion of predictability, to contain the wild, untamable essence of human potential within artificial boundaries. But you, having journeyed this far, know better. You weren't placed here to be contained, but to expand into the fullness of who you are. Not to conform to external expectations, but to fearlessly explore the infinite, uncharted landscape of your own consciousness. Dostoyevsky's enduring legacy isn't a neatly packaged philosophical system, but a powerful and liberating invitation. An invitation to wholeheartedly embrace the entirety of your humanity, to recognize that your deepest, most authentic self isn't something to be feared, suppressed, or denied, but something to be celebrated with fierce pride and unwavering acceptance. Your inherent contradictions aren't weaknesses to be ashamed of, but the very source of your unique strength and vitality. Ultimately, you are not defined or limited by what you have done in the past. but empowered and liberated by the immeasurable potential of what you are capable of becoming in the future. Every perceived limitation is merely an illusion waiting to be shattered, every boundary a challenge beckoning you to transcend it. You are, in essence, a miracle of breathtaking complexity, a universe teeming with unexplored potential and boundless possibilities. The story is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning. And you hold the pen, for you are both the author of this epic tale and its most profound and captivating mystery. Dostoyevsky has ripped away the veil, exposing the raw truth of human nature. Now, let's ignite a conversation. Comment below, what's the most unsettling truth you've recognized within yourself? Share this video to spark a revolution of self-awareness. The deeper we delve, the more we discover.